sometimes the question is asked, how do I get my party to care about the lore? The answer is, who cares? And also, why should they care? Nobody should care. That sounds like an awful thing to. The players are already going to tell you what they care about. I see that. Let's see. Noelle has dropped in a question. Noelle says, actually, it's a question I'd love for you and Jesse to answer. How deep do you get when you do world building? Like, how deep do you go with your lore? Are you a big world builder, Jesse?
I am. Sometimes it's better than others, and sometimes it's loose ideas that get fit together, and then I restart 5 minutes later. I'm a big map guy, if you didn't know.
Oh, like with mountains and lakes.
Rivers,
Oh, sure, maybe sometimes if there's time to
the
add the
correct water flow.
important flow of
Uh,
water.
it's just the bare minimum to be really like a good DM is the correct
That's
waterways.
the really world building starts and stops at the direction the water flows.
And I mean, if you don't have your plate tectonic set up first, it's kind of embarrassing, and you might as well just go play pretend in your backyard.
Yes.
And I told T actually too, the website I use for kind of world building
Mm-hmm.
finally has a timeline calendar feature.
Nice.
And I've had rough ideas and stuff in my head, but I like having everything in one place that I can finagle with. And so now that it's there, I'm like, now it's time to figure out what year it actually is.
Sure. I think I think I try to actively avoid doing any world building that I don't have to do. And and when I say have to do, it means if there's something that's going to happen in a session that really requires filling out more of the world, then I'm gonna like buckle down and do that. But if I don't yet know if it's going to come up, first of all, I don't really want to. It's not a waste of time. I mean, it's fun to do sometimes, I guess, but I'd rather work on things that are going to show up in the game, and not answering those questions keeps them open, right? Like if I haven't, like I don't, like my world map is incomplete. Like if I haven't filled out the entire world map yet, then if a player is like, hey, is there a land out there that's just all giants? I could actually go, I guess there probably could be, right? Like that could actually be a thing. Whereas if I'm done, right? If I've closed the loop on everything in the world, in that sense, then I would, I'd have an answer, but I don't know if it would be as much fun. I mean, it's like I don't want to disparage however people like some, I would caution against people who are like spending years world building before they run a game. It's like, I'm not sure you're a dungeon master yet. I think you're just you're world building. You're an author or whatever. Like that's cool. Um, but I couldn't do that. I would, I'm happy to, like I'm happy to dig in. Like my island campaign, I'm working on I mean it's a weak version. It's an actual language. It's like you know there's a structure to it, and there's sort of cultural meaning behind it. But that's because I expect the party to actually engage with it. Like that's a major part of these upcoming sessions, whether or not they lock in or not. Like I'd like to know that it makes sense. Um, on this island. But so it's not like I won't do it, but yeah.
With world building, a lot of times my world building of like a place might just be I have an idea and I throw it somewhere, but until it's in front of players, it's Schrodinger's world building,
Sure. Yeah.
and it can change at any one moment. I think for T's character, because they're the ones that are in my actual world.
Right.
Um, I was like, "Where are you from?" And then I didn't have I had a name and I changed it on the map, and I could change it again.
Yeah.
Um, where I changed the city, and then now the Giamma, so the
whole areas that tease mathness is involved in. I don't know how I got math in my world building.
Nice. Of course you did, because T's in your game.
It's required with T. I think it's required.
If anyone can do it, it's the T yourself.
You know, if you want to get your players engaged, sometimes you got to engage with them where their passions lie, and that's one.
Like, I think one city I have is I think I wrote a lot of smart people with universities.
Yeah,
the nerd town.
Like,
that's all you need,
like,
right?
There we go.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then sometimes I think there are ideas. Like, I'm a big fan of using hooks in general, like as a pattern for game design. So quest hooks, people, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But throw something in the world. If they engage with it, then maybe you have to now build that quest, right? You just had the idea of a quest. I like doing the same thing for a puzzle. If I've got an idea for a puzzle, I'll do a really light version of it, drop it into the world, see if they get excited about it. If they do, maybe I'll go deeper on that. And world building stuff is kind of the same, where sometimes I'll just put hints of ideas that I think are exciting. And if anybody engages with it, then I'll flesh it out. Like, there are some magic items in my games where the descriptions indicate that they were made by like similar people, like that they were related in some way. Like, there's a story behind some of these items. If anybody were to take, now nobody has yet, and that's fine. Like, I don't need to, but if anybody ever was like, hey, I want to find out more about this person, this artificer who made this thing, because actually I think they also made this like helmet. I want to figure that out, right? Then that could develop into more. But I'm not sure I even know what that story is yet, because nobody's picked up on it.
DMs care more about their world building, obviously, than players.
Sure.
So if you're like, hey, like, oh, wasn't that something else? I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of changed it around, and players are like, oh, cool, sounds good.
Yeah, that's always a, sometimes the question is asked, how do I get my party to care about the lore?
You don't.
Yeah, and the answer is you don't. The answer is, who cares? And also, why should they care? Nobody should care. That sounds like an awful thing to but that's not the fun answer. The fun answer is like, okay, how do we like make this matter? And the reality is, it's like the players are already going to tell you what they care about. You can associate your world and the things in it to that, but no, that's the same as like, how do you convince a bunch of kids that learning 18th century history is important in some way? They'll be like, when will I ever use this? Like, okay, if you can figure out how to convince them to want to learn that, you can also convince your players to want to learn about the history of your world.
Noelle was around here,
mm-hmm.
And when we were doing like the session 0, she said she likes kind of the intrigue between different nations and stuff, whether it comes up or not. And so it's like, okay, now I know if I build stuff into that wherever they are when they get to that point, that Noelle's going to be invested in it. So
totally,
that's a +1 right there.
Absolutely, yeah.
So asking your players, like, what do you guys care about, this or this? And they're like, oh yeah, I want to make an archaeologist. And they're like, okay, cool. Time to really deep dive.
That's right.
Into whatever whatever ancient societies, and why is society in D&D always regressing backwards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like in so many D&D games, an archaeologist would be very busy, a very busy like profession. They'd have a lot of ruins to parse through. Rather than trying to turn people's heads one direction, just go put your stuff in the direction they're already looking, right? There are ways to do that. Like what you're describing, it could be elegant and not obvious and silly, and that still doesn't mean that people are going to engage with it.